But there is a certain level of awareness about the historical aspects of this phenomenon that I do think anybody has access to, and be discerning, of course, and obviously be aware that there was disinformation for a long period of time. But with that said, like a Top Gun pilots who know the difference between something prosaic and something weird, saying this is a weird thing and we're telling you about this, and it allowed people to take that seriously, A, because of who they were, but B, because they were under oath. They were under oath saying this is real. And it takes that for people, unfortunately, because there's so much data out there. There's so much evidence. But for so many folks, it's going to take the government being like, hey, this is real. You're allowed to think it's real now because we're the ones that told you it wasn't for 75 years. Right. And it's unfortunate because we shouldn't need that. If you have an open mind, you can study this, all of the different elements of it, and come to your own conclusion. But for so many people, and likely it's because there's so many other things to focus on, we're constantly being bombarded with stimulus. There's all these distractions. It's actually pretty negative when people don't have distractions. They only focus on the UFO phenomenon too. If you've ever been on UFO Twitter, you encounter that. But I do think there's this point where we're starting to get the stick that carries the carrot's getting shorter. And I've long thought that this move toward disclosure is not the government doing it, but the visitors themselves.
The visitors themselves.
I think they're the ones that are leading this charge toward disclosure. I don't have any evidence. It's sort of an intuitive sense I have. And from looking at all of the different aspects of what's happening and how it's been happening, I get the sense that we're reaching a point, a sort of nexus in space, time, space, where we are going to have broad awareness of this. And they said, catch up. Not wait up, catch up. So I think Congress is trying to get to a point where they're not caught with their pants down, and they've put in place some broad awareness, or at least presented the information in some capacity in a public forum, bipartisanly, which is weird as shit. Like, what else in this world right now, in this country, is bipartisan? Other than this UFO question.
Yeah,
there's a lot that seems to indicate
makes it tingle a little bit.
Yeah, I'm tingling all over right now, thinking about the fact that there could be something that unites this country. It's insane, and it's UFOs.
Yeah,
I think that's an underappreciated aspect of this. People do talk about it, but that's crazy. It's cool. So yeah, I don't know. I do get the sense that we're sort of being led. We, as in Congress in the United States, is being led to do something ahead of something that is coming.
Yeah. So, I mean, the jokes in my head go to, so Lou Elizondo's a future human, or people like this are a future human. I know it's not what you're saying.
No, not at all.
But you're saying that, like, the forces of that could be manipulating this type of situation to be spoken through people like that.
Yeah, and I don't even like the word manipulation per se, just because it does have a negative connotation, but a guiding of sorts. Historically, it was guiding away from. Now, even if they are meant to be disseminating information, I think it's less disinformation and misinformation, which was what they were doing over the last 70 years. And now it's probably just information. But it is guiding, it is changing. But then it gets into the question, well, who are they working for? Why are they doing this? I don't know. I can't speak to that. But it does seem like there's a push. And I think it's less of a push and more of a pull from the visitors themselves.
Right. My friend Jesse Michaels was actually at one of the recent hearings, and
I love Jesse.
The great guy, but so smart about this stuff, so well read on all of it. And the thing that annoyed him that makes me double take on some of this stuff is the fact that he was like, all these congressmen have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Like the most basic shit. Like they don't have a clue. So they're so easy to be, and again, I know you don't like the word, but they're so easy to be manipulated or something like that because they don't even know where to begin with it. Like, what has your experience been in like some of the private meetings with some of these guys that you've been invited into?
Yeah, so two things there. One, I do think they don't know. Most people don't. I don't know either. I mean, there's so much convoluted shit involved with this. Nobody can know all of it, but there is a certain level of awareness about the historical aspects of this phenomenon that I do think anybody has access to, and be discerning, of course, and obviously be aware that there was disinformation for a long period of time. But with that said, these Congress people were asking pretty informed questions considering how much space this takes up on their server. Very tiny amount of space considering everything else that they have to do in these jobs. I was really impressed by the level of awareness they did have relative to most people and relative to what I expected of them in those positions. But you're right.
The bar was low.
The bar was low, yeah. But I was pleasantly surprised, not just because the bar was low, but I was like, wow, they're talking about things that actually do kind of matter. And it's not like they're just trying to get information for the first time. Clearly, some of them read up before asking these questions. And that's the meeting that we just had. They wanted to have a few academics together. It was the guys I published this paper with recently about cryptoterrestrials.
Cryptoterrestrials.
Yeah. And so they came across the paper, they reached out to us, like, hey, can we have this conversation? Because we want to ask informed questions. That's great. That's trying to educate yourself ahead of something where your education can help you and the American public get better information because they took the time to learn about it first. And so that is happening. You know, and Jesse's right, like they can't know everything. And if they did, they could ask better questions. But I think they were doing okay. And hopefully with this one happening right now, they're doing even better because they had more time to think about it and they had access to information in that first hearing that they could then build on going into the second one. But, you know, more whistleblowers helps people that actually were interacting with these things. What I would love to see is them bringing the people that are actually hiding this shit in the first place, the members of the military-industrial complex who have a very good reason to keep this stuff from entering the public sphere, because of how disruptive it might be to their industries and how they're trying to protect their intellectual property and all of these ramifications. Again, that gets into implications,
Yes.
which comes after proving and what are they and what might they be and all of these other things. But, and likely these people would be like Dave Chappelle in that skit from the 2000s, you know, slapping the table, I'll plead the fifth. I'll plead the fifth. They're probably not going to say anything, but those are the people that should be sitting in front of Congress getting grilled right now. Because they're the ones that are hiding all of this. Why are you hiding it? What do you not want us to know?
Yeah, I think it was also Jesse when I was talking with him. He was considering what the intelligence read-in procedure was, and the thing he talked about was compartmentalization. And there was someone else I was talking about this with, but I can't remember who it was. And they said the same thing. And
stovepiping is a huge problem.
Right. So, you know, it'd be one thing if like this entire group, you know, maybe at the top of the Pentagon knew everything and knew all the secrets. But in reality, there's all these little secret teams that meet in skiffs on one topic or two topics or something that comprise, you know,
that's a
the
great
full
point.
thing comprises 10,000 things. And so you could have people who have these small little breadcrumbs where it's like, imagine if you just found a few puzzle pieces on the ground. You can't do anything with it. But if you had the full set of pieces to the puzzle, you could build the puzzle. So what can they even reveal?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the stovepiping is certainly a huge issue regarding the way all of these things are put into different pieces that, you don't see the whole picture. That's the whole reason they do it. But, yeah, that's a great extension of that it goes into trying to get information about it, too, because you're asking somebody that does know something, but it's one small piece.
Guys, if you're still watching this video and you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please take 2 seconds and go hit it right now. Thank you.
I recently mentioned to this congressperson, their chief of staff, that I know someone who is a part of that same thing, and they are ready to be a whistleblower. They want to talk about it, but you're right. How much does that contribute? It's another data point, though. It does actually help them see, oh, okay, this is happening here too, and how does it relate to this, and how does it relate to that? But still, you're not going to see the whole picture, and that's what they want. And they've done a fantastic job of keeping it that way. And yeah, kudos to them. It's impressive.
How'd that person get in touch with you?
Showed up at my office, actually. Yeah.
Why'd they pick you?
I asked them that question too. A few metaphysical reasons and a few physical reasons. But they they wanted to talk to somebody about it, recognized that I could, I would take them seriously. I would listen. I would understand, and I also might know people I could put them in touch with who could help them in what they were trying to do. And that's exactly what happened. Put them in touch with Leslie Kane, Jesse, had a conversation with this individual and a few others as well. Because, that a lot of us have a sense that something needs to happen. And I think the more we can just talk about it and try to get those pieces on the table, because you're right, if you only have a couple, it's not going to be a very clear picture, but the more pieces that are there, then you can start to do it. Not to belabor the puzzle thing, but I've been doing a lot of puzzles lately with my daughter. Apparently it's on the mind. But you said it first, though.
I did say it first.
All right.
It's a good. I mean that because that's how I look at it. It's like, imagine if you only had a couple, it doesn't do anything for you, because to extrapolate that, those couple could be these major league secrets, like these things are like, holy shit. But then if it doesn't have context, you can't take action on it, or you can't explain why necessarily. It gets a little meta when you're talking about that, but that's the truth.
Yeah, it is. And this whole phenomenon's pretty meta anyway. So
yes.
And it's really just having it, but they're keeping us from having it. They gutted the Schumer amendment. There's just so many things, and that in itself, should be evidence that there's something happening. And I think it is for a lot of people, but they're also still just keeping this process from moving forward. And I get it, and I also just don't give a shit about it because I think it's one tiny piece of something much, much bigger. To me, the most important thing is that this is entering the public zeitgeist, and we're paying attention, and we're looking at what's at the end of that stick. We're seeing a carrot, and we're moving toward it.
This is also where it gets really, feels like it's stuck between a shit and a fart sometimes, because on the one hand...
It's a shart.
Yeah.
We have a word for that.
I say when it goes one way or the other, period. No middle ground. But, on the one hand, it's like, if your intelligence, and let's say, just for the sake of argument here, you're one of the people who's read in on all of it, okay? If that even exists. If you're there and you can simulate ahead of time how society would react to news about whatever this is, whatever this extraterrestrial, extratempestrial, whatever it may be, phenomenon is. If you could simulate what would happen to a society of 8 billion people around the world if they were given this information, and that simulation showed that there would be catastrophic ontological shock, a complete breakdown in social structure as we know it, potential like war like we've never, all these horrible things. You might be, in that case, you very well would be in a position where, if that were true, keeping it a secret or not telling people and everything would actually be in the best interest of people. The paradox, or the catch-22 to that, if you will, though, is who the fuck are you to decide that? And I don't want to sit here and suddenly be like, yeah, let's just trust the people in intelligence because they'll never lead us astray. But what if on this issue, if that were the case, what if they're right to do that? Watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here